Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our All In 2026 Pathways to a Sustainable Future webinar series. My name is Olivia Burns. I'm an environmental specialist with Clark County's Office of Sustainability, and I support the All In Clark County initiative. Welcome to our second webinar of this year's series focused on habitat restoration and rewilding. Joining us today to present is Katrina Smith, Senior Zoologist with the Springs Preserve. Before I pass it over to Katrina to get us started all about the Springs Preserve and rewilding efforts, I'll share a few tips to enhance your presentation experience and navigate the website. You can translate the entire meeting page and/or the live audio into another language by clicking the Translate button and selecting a language from the Translate drop-down menu. Closed captions are also available for this presentation by clicking the CC button on the bottom right corner of the presentation page. Viewers may call in to hear audio by dialing the 855 number located above the presentation page. Another way to interact with us is by putting comments and questions into the chat box next to the presentation live stream. If you think of a question during the presentation, please put them there and we'll review those at the end. The presentation is also being recorded and will be available on Clark County's Department of Environment and Sustainability YouTube channel afterwards. Lastly, if you have any difficulties hearing or viewing the presentation at any time, please refresh the meeting page. Now I'll pass it over to Katrina to get us started. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, hello everybody. So my name is Katrina and I'm the senior zoologist here at the Springs Preserve. I've been in the wildlife field in different capacities for the past 25 years and here at the Springs Preserve for the past 10. I've been in my current role as a senior zoologist for about 3.5 years now. And in addition to overseeing the captive animal exhibits we have here on our property, I also oversee and help maintain the natural areas on property. So today I'm going to share with you how we are restoring ecosystems, rebuilding lost habitats, and helping to revive the ecological story of Las Vegas through our habitat restoration and rewilding efforts. So just a quick outline of what I'm going to go over today. So there's an overview of the Springs Preserve, including some of the history, like why Las Vegas is here, our restoration efforts, some of our rewilding efforts, and then just some stuff that you guys can do at home, just little pieces of the puzzle that we all kind of contribute to. So to start, what is the Springs Preserve? So we are a 180-acre cultural and environmental site considered the birthplace of Las Vegas. So it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places as the site of the Springs Preserve served as the original source of water for Native Americans living here thousands of years ago. Without this specific spot of water, the city we're here today wouldn't exist. So without water, there won't be people, there won't be wildlife. Water is such an important part of our whole story. So our mission, or what gets us out of the bed in the morning, is to show how our history and our environments are actually the same story. So for thousands of years, multiple springs here combined to form the Las Vegas Creek. These waters fed lush meadows, stands of willows and mesquite, and sustained native wildlife that included native fish, amphibians, birds, reptiles, mammals, bugs, a little bit of everything. So imagine before the neon lights and the fountains, this was the only place for miles where you could actually hear running water and stand in the shade of a willow tree, which is a very unique aspect of Las Vegas, that we had all this water here in the middle of the desert. So the area sustained native peoples, early travelers, and first settlers. And the desert springs were an oasis in the Mojave Desert, used to bathe and cool off, water livestock, provide drinking water, and establish homesteads. So as Las Vegas expanded in the early 20th century, groundwater pumping intensified. So by the early 1960s, after nearly 3,000 groundwater wells were drilled in the valley, the springs stopped flowing entirely, leading the Las Vegas Creek to dry up and much of the rich wetland ecosystem to vanish. At the same time, human disturbances from road construction, utility corridors, and dumping sites further degraded the landscape. So, that loss of surface water led to the disappearance of two species found here but nowhere else: the Las Vegas dace, which is a fish, and the Vegas Valley leopard frog. When the water left, they had nowhere else to go. So, when animals are very distinctly tied to water and that water disappears, the animals disappear. But even heavily altered ecosystems can recover with the right care. So that's what I'm going to start talking about now. So, starting around the year 2000, the Springs Preserve began restoring the site with large scale cleanup, removing debris and non native plants, reshaping the land to mimic how the water used to flow naturally, restoring natural soil structure, planting thousands of native shrubs, trees, and grasses, reestablishing natural plant communities, and creating trails and protected natural areas. So, this work laid the foundation for restoring the ecological function that was lost when the spring stopped flowing, and has helped transform the preserve into an island of biodiversity in the middle of Las Vegas. So, we aren't just planting trees, we're trying to bring back a system that once supported everybody. So, to date, more than 90 acres of native habitat have been restored here at the preserve. This includes 3 acres of wetland, including a stream and 6 habitat ponds, and portions of that historic Las Vegas Creek. Where there is water, there is life. So, to date, we have documented over 100 species of birds, 9 species of reptiles, 51 species of butterflies and moths, and countless other invertebrates and spiders. And just we have a lot of really cool stuff here on our property. So, our restoration efforts also include the recreation of several different native plant communities and restoration of habitat for the Las Vegas bear poppy, a plant only found here in the Mojave Desert. And if anyone is familiar with the bear poppy, it is a rare flower that is famously stubborn about where it grows. And so, seeing it bloom here is like a gold star for our restoration efforts. So, the key natural areas I'm going to discuss further here are the Cienega wetland system. It's a 3 acre desert wetland that acts as a sanctuary for migrating birds and other animals. Our 15-acre desert tortoise habitat, which is home to our most famous resident, Mojave Max, and the Cottonwood Grove Ponds, where we've created a lifeboat for species like the endangered prompt poolfish and the state protected relic leopard frog. All of these natural areas are fully accessible by trails at the Springs Preserve, and visitors can walk through these restored ecosystems and see all of our restoration and rewilding efforts firsthand. So, to start, I'm going to talk about creating the Cienega. That was our first big project here. So, a cienega is a valley bottom wetland where water is seeping up and creating habitat for very specific plant communities. Historically, Las Vegas had several spring fed ponds like this. And at the preserve, the cienega was designed to recreate that feeling and function of those historic wetlands that were once here. Well, it's technically a detention basin, so it's at the end of the Alta Channel. So it's called the Meadows Detention Basin. For flood control, we have transformed it. So instead of just a dry pit, it is a living filter that captures runoff water and turns it into a lush sanctuary for wildlife. Work was completed in 2004, and since then the vegetation has matured and the area is one of the most vibrant wildlife hotspots on property. We see animals such as gray egrets, mallards, American coots. We've got a pied-billed grebe in there today. A large variety of dragonflies almost year round. We have different dragonflies based on the season. It's a popular stopover spot for migrating birds. And if anyone here is a birder, we have spring migration coming up soon, and that's a great place to go see some really cool birds that are stopping over. The Cienega includes ponds, a meandering stream channel, native wetland plants, wildlife viewing areas, and natural habitat for birds, insects, mammals, and even an amphibian. So, another major project was the creation of a dedicated desert tortoise habitat. So, this 15-acre habitat was created with funding by the Clark County Multi Species Habitat Conservation Plan and serves as a refugium for a controlled and healthy population of desert tortoises. So, desert tortoises are threatened species and are an essential part of the Mojave ecosystem. They are keystone species and shape the environment around them. So there's something that is very important to have in our environment. So think of the tortoise as the desert's most important architect. Their deep burrows provide a basement apartment for over 300 other species, such as burrowing owls, small mammals, insects, many other species. So those cooler temperatures in their burrow, those stable temperatures in the tortoise burrow acts as kind of a thermal refuge for animals when it's 110 degrees in the summer. So those deep burrows, the deeper they go, kind of the better insulated they are from temperature changes around the environment. And so that can be 15, 20 degrees cooler in one of those deep burrows, which is a really big deal for animals that are out there on the landscape and kind of need a place to cool down. So those tortoises dig in there and they help a lot of other animals. So their presence benefits an entire community of desert organisms. This makes them a functional part of desert ecosystems. And the habitat gives our tortoises a protected refuge while helping visitors learn more about their ecological importance. So, like with our other natural areas, you can walk through our desert tortoise habitat and go check out kind of where they live, what kind of environment they live in, what kind of plant communities are around. And of course, this is where our very own weather prognosticator, Mojave Max, spends his time. So, next came the restoration of the historic Las Vegas Creek Channel within an area known as Cottonwood Grove. This part of the property is shaded by large cottonwood trees, making it the perfect location for a reconstructed riparian habitat. So, riparian habitat is a lush green area along a water source, and it's a lush green area, again, because there's water. So, where there's water, there's life. The work included creating stable, naturalistic concrete basins, adding waterfalls and bubblers for aeration of the water, installing mechanical filtration, skimmers, and settling basins to maintain water quality, planting native wetland species, and using the existing cottonwood canopy to create a shade and cooler temperatures. So, in the height of summer, this area can be 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the parking lot. So, that's not just comfortable for us, that is survival for the animals. So, having that kind of temperature gradient in some place that you can get water and get cooler temperatures can make a really big difference for animals out there on the landscape. While it looks like a peaceful natural pond system, underneath it's working really hard, using mechanical filtration to keep the water clean enough for our most sensitive species, like endangered fish and frogs, which set the stage for true rewilding, which is my next topic. So, to support natural behaviors, we design habitats that allow animals to forage, breed, burrow, and function as they would in the wild. So, rewilding at this preserve, I'm so sorry. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what is rewilding to start. So, what is rewilding? Rewilding means restoring natural processes and reintroducing native or ecologically equivalent species to rebuild healthy ecosystems. So, at the Springs Preserve, rewilding includes a couple different things. So, for us here, it includes restoring ecological function. So, by bringing back species that fill roles of extinct natives, we reestablish feeding relationships, nutrient cycles, and natural behaviors of native wildlife. So, to support those natural behaviors, we design habitats that allow animals to forage, breed, burrow, and function just like they would in the wild. So, rewilding at the preserve is very hands on. So, we're very in touch with what is happening at our Cottonwood Grove ponds. We do water quality testing, behavioral monitoring, disease tracking, population monitoring, and adaptive management. These are all part of the process of our rewilding here. So, rewilding is not always predictable, as we learned through the Relic Leopard Frog project, and I will get more into the animals we put in here. But as we learned through that Relic Leopard Frog project, some species behave a little differently in restored habitats, including unexpected behaviors like tadpole cannibalism. These behaviors can actually contribute to that ecosystem balance. So, rewilding isn't just about planting trees. It's about restarting the engine of the ecosystem. We're bringing back the parts so the species that make the whole machine work again, from the insects that cycle nutrients to the predators that keep populations healthy. Rewilding is about giving nature the space to work again. So historically, the Las Vegas Creek had its own native fish and frog species. Unfortunately, neither of these animals were available for reintroduction to the Springs Preserve. So the Las Vegas dace is an extinct fish species, so it disappeared when the water dried up. And the relic leopard frog was thought to be extinct and then found again. But it is replacing the Vegas Valley leopard frog, which there's a lot of like DNA questions, but we think it's probably now in Arizona. But we did decide to do these two species. So why these two species? So to restore the ecological balance, we selected that federally endangered perm poolfish, which didn't have any place else to live, to help to replace the Las Vegas dace. And then we chose the state protected relic leopard frog to replace the Vegas Valley leopard frog. So what these surrogates do is the same job in the environment that those original animals did. Both of these species are rare, sensitive, and in need of protected, stable habitats, which makes the Springs Preserve an ideal partner for their recovery. So rewilding at the Springs Preserve brings the function of the historic wetland back to life, even if those two original species are no longer here. So the Cottonwood Grove ponds were designed to replicate natural desert springs. They have well oxygenated water, aquatic plants, sheltered areas and shade, and clean water. So their reconstructed habitat mimicked the conditions a prompt pool fish requires for breeding and for long-term survival. 290 adult poolfish were released into the Cottonwood Grove ponds in the spring of 2018. So it's been about 8 years now. We didn't just drop them in, we gave them a short acclimation period to get used to the water temperature and the water chemistry before we released them into those ponds. After the release, they explored the ponds, fed on small aquatic insects, and began to establish territories. And something that was really exciting for us to see was that within a few weeks, the first young fish were found, which was evidence the species had reproduced in their new home. And seeing these first young fish was the ultimate stamp of approval from nature itself. It was a great sign to see that the Cottonwood Grove ponds were on the way to becoming a self-sustaining ecosystem. Because if an animal is in a habitat that it is stressed, it doesn't have the food, it doesn't have the right conditions, it is not going to spend the energy to reproduce. So that was very exciting for us to see that happen. So in our annual surveys, our biologists check the population. So we have regular information about how the population is doing. And they continue to reproduce naturally every year. So the numbers will fluctuate within seasons, but they are maintaining a healthy, stable community. This self-sustaining poolfish population is a huge milestone for endangered species. They are a key component in the food web, and beyond that, they serve a vital role for us as they help control mosquito larvae, which reduces the risk of disease for wildlife and for us. So we like anything that is a bug eater. So next up is our relic leopard frog introduction. So like I mentioned, the relic leopard frog was once thought to be extinct until small populations were discovered in Nevada. So they need three things in their habitat to survive. They need clean water, they need dense plants to hide in, and they need safe spots to bask in the sun. And this is exactly what the Cottonwood Grove ponds provide. So again, in the spring of 2018, so about 8 years ago, we released 100 young frogs that were newly metamorphosed from tadpoles. Early predation and their lack of a fear of predators were challenges in the beginning, but survivors quickly adapted and additional releases strengthened that population. Within the first year, the frogs began breeding successfully, which was again very exciting because if the conditions are not right for the animals and they're not going to breed and spend all that energy. So we have seen egg masses every spring and tadpoles appear in the ponds every spring and summer. And over time, the population grew to several hundred frogs in that pond. So today, the Cottonwood Grove ponds support one of the healthiest and most productive relic leopard frog populations in the region. The tadpoles help balance the ecosystem and act as our pond cleaners by eating algae, while the adult frogs join the pool fish in keeping the insect population in check. They aren't just living here, they are working to help keep our ecosystem healthy. So, in addition to the success of fish and frogs in the ponds, we see a big variety of wildlife taking advantage of this water source year round and the cooler temperatures in the summer. So, birds such as red-tailed hawks, roadrunners, quail, seasonal migrants are seen at the ponds drinking and bathing. If you've never seen a red-tailed hawk bathe, um, it is it is something to behold. It is very fun to watch, and I believe on our Instagram page they have shared some of our hawk bathing videos that I've gotten from our wildlife camera, so definitely worth checking out. We also get dragonflies here year round laying eggs. Honeybees come to collect water to cool their hives. We've seen snakes, lizards, and mammals. They've all been seen taking advantage of our ponds because where there's water, there is life. This is the biggest impact of reconstructing an ecosystem, how it helps the wildlife in the surrounding area as a whole, not just the animals introduced in the system. So they don't live in a vacuum. When we restore, recover something, it really truly helps everything around them. So I've talked about restoration and rewilding. And so what can you do at home? It truly only takes little small changes or little bits of effort to make a big difference. I've got a whole list of stuff, but it's not, don't be intimidated. It doesn't have to be like you need to go home and do all these things. Just kind of pick something that kind of speaks to you. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this list of what you can do at home. So anyone can take part in rewilding, even in our urban deserts. And some easy ways to make a difference are one, to leave the leaves. So leaf litter creates small scale habitat for overwintering insects, spiders, lizards, and beneficial decomposers. It also supports native pollinators whose larvae require leaf litter or dead stems to survive the winter. By doing less yard work, you're actually doing more for the planet by improving soil health and supporting the base of the desert food web. Support our native pollinators by planting native flowering plants adapted to the Mojave Desert. There's some great um, plant places to purchase plants here in the desert. Try avoiding pesticides and provide microhabitats by leaving fallen branches and small patches of bare soil. Encourage native birds by growing native shrubs and trees to provide natural food, nesting material, and shelter. And practice messy habitat gardening. Leave seed heads on plants through the winter. Those are a great food source for birds. Keep small brush piles for lizards and native rodents. By providing the right environment, you let nature do the rest. Another thing you can do is reduce nighttime lighting to help protect some of our nocturnal wildlife. And a really big one, because as a zoologist, something that I really like to plug is make sure you don't ever release an animal into the wild. You might think, well, this turtle, it's getting too big to be in my tank, or I don't have the time to care for it. So I'm just going to put it in this pond. It'll be fine. It actually makes really big impacts on the natural animals and the ecosystem that depend on that pond. And that even just that one turtle can have a really big impact. So there are resources for rehoming exotic pets if you need to. Visit the don'tletitloose.com website for assistance with rehoming exotic pets. Small changes across many backyards can help rebuild habitat corridors across the valley, connecting our island of biodiversity to the rest of the Mojave Desert. So we can all play a part in this, just little changes, and will make a really big difference. So if you're new to desert gardening or just need some assistance, I'm just going to plug the Springs Preserve. We have desert gardening classes here. In these classes, they teach how to grow climate appropriate plants, support wildlife, create a water smart landscape at home. This is just kind of stuff that's coming up, but it's all available on our website if you want more information about how to plant for native plants, how to plant for pollinators, what will survive here, how to find plants that will work in your backyard with the sun or the shade that you're getting. We have very talented gardeners here, very willing to help kind of this whole bigger picture and bigger mission. So thank you for joining me today. I have the Springs Preserve shows that even landscapes pushed to the brink can be brought back to life, pond by pond and species by species. So before we wrap up, I want to share one more way you can stay connected to the wildlife our restoration efforts support. So we invite you to check out the Springs Preserve iNaturalist page to see the incredible variety of wildlife that now calls the Springs Preserve home. From birds and butterflies, reptiles, mammals, and a large variety of invertebrates, the observations posted there showcase the success of our rewilding and restoration efforts and the amazing biodiversity thriving in our natural areas today. So iNaturalist is a citizen science platform to record, share, and identify observations of plants, animals, and fungus worldwide. It is a free platform. There's a free app. You can access it on a website, and you can even contribute your own wildlife sightings if you come here to visit and go walk around some of these natural areas and see all the restoration that we've been put in and that we're continuing to work on. So, just a couple of quick acknowledgments because we can't do this alone. It takes a village, truly. So just a big thank you for all of the partners and then some. I did not list everyone by any means, but we have had a lot of help to do this. And then with that, I will take any questions. And at the bottom here is my email address. Anyone is welcome to email me if you have any questions or need more detail, or if I missed something, or if you just have a question about something else. And I will send it back to Olivia.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katrina, for presenting on the Springs Preserve, the Cottonwood Grove ponds, and sharing the rewilding work. It's really great to see all these restoration efforts and the impact that they're having. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And now we'll go over audience questions. All right, first question. How do changes in water levels from Lake Mead impact the Springs Preserve?
So our Cienega um, is charged by any runoff water. And like I mentioned, it is a flood basin. So it is also charged by any nuisance water that runs down the Alta channel. So we're just capturing water there. So we are not actively filling that. But like with everyone else, any sort of reductions in our water, we do also follow the watering clock, the watering schedule. And we work really hard to make sure we're planting desert adapted plants, so we're not overusing irrigation water to keep our plants alive. So we want everything to be sort of adapted to what can grow here naturally. So of course, like with the rest of the community, when we have to make sure we're monitoring our water use, we are also making sure we are monitoring that water use.
Great, thank you. Next question. How does the Springs Preserve balance public recreation with protecting sensitive habitats?
Yeah. So public public recreation. So we want the public to come. We want you to come see kind of what we've created here, what you have in your environment. And I think we do a really good job here of we have trails that you can go out and see the natural areas, and we've got a lot of recreated habitats. And I think we do a really good job here of being able to get people out into those spaces and see what is possible and what kind of the greater Mojave Desert looks like. So this is a great way, I think, for people to get a close look at the environment without kind of being out in the middle of nowhere or trekking off trail to go see something really cool. So we do have established trail system here, and we request that everyone stays on the trail. And so that helps us a lot, kind of help maintain that habitat that we've created, just staying on the trail systems and enjoying and seeing everything from where the public side. But we have a lot of access points and places to stop and just watch what's happening, watch the wildlife, watch all the cool birds that come through. I'm a big bird nerd, so I'm very excited about that part.
Wonderful, thank you. Next question is, how does Springs Preserve manage threats like invasive species or disease in isolated populations?
So we do watch for disease in the prump poolfish and the red leopard frogs because that is a closed population and that's something that we are regularly monitoring. So like also I'll just kind of touch on mosquito control. We do regular mosquito control here, and like the Southern Nevada Health District does monitoring here. So we are always keeping track on sort of that public health side. I don't know that we've had any sort of issues here that I can think of that I can let you know what we do, but it is something that we're we're always out there. Like we're always checking on things. If we see something unusual, like there's bird flu when there was a big bird issue going around, like we report things if we see them. So we have a lot of contacts. We're in touch with a lot of biologists, other other organizations, other federal agencies, and so I think we're very aware of our 180 acres because this is our home. This is I spend a lot of time out there.
Great, thank you. And last question for you. Are there training programs for volunteers who want to help monitor wildlife populations or water quality?
So we do love our volunteers here at the Springs Preserve. Um, Most of our volunteer um, positions are more like visitor focused. If you're interested in doing some like wildlife monitoring, like I talked about that iNaturalist website, honestly, just come visit, like get a membership because they're super cheap. Come see us once a month, once a week, walk the trails, take pictures, see what you see out there, and share it on iNaturalist. Honestly, like that's such a cool citizen science platform, and I manage our Springs Preserve iNaturalist page, so I get to see what people are seeing, and it brings me so much joy when I see that there's a new person who's been making observations here, and oh my God, they saw this cool bird, and I've never seen this here before. Or look at that butterfly, like that's something new that we're documenting here, or this really cool spider. So, as far as like wildlife monitoring, just just go out there, bring your phone. You know, if you have a camera, bring it, but like the best camera you got is the one that's in your hand. So, but we do absolutely have volunteer opportunities and we love our volunteers. Again, I'll just direct you to our website. There's a ton of information on there. Like you can fill in a volunteer request form if you want more information and someone will reach out to you. But we absolutely appreciate having volunteers kind of just speak to the public. We can talk about water quality. You can talk about um, different areas of the property. There's lots of places we use people.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, that is all for today's questions. But before we go, just want to share a few upcoming events that we have here at All in Clark County. Um, so thank you for everyone joining today's webinar. We do have a whole month or year full of webinars, so one a month. So if you want to join us next month, it is on residential energy efficiency. And then you could, all of these webinars are available right now to sign up and register for. Since we're talking more about Springs Reserve and our parks here on August, we have Wetlands Park as well. So another beautiful park and nature center that we have in Clark County. So definitely go check those out. You could sign up for our newsletter. We send it every 2 weeks about resources for sustainability and ways you could save on utility bills and engage in public transit or biking, especially that the weather is getting nicer. I try to encourage people to go outside more. And then we also have our social media channels here as well, so you can stay updated on all of our upcoming events and sustainability resources. But that is all for today's webinar. So thank you for the audience for taking the opportunity to learn more about Springs Preserve. And another special thank you to Katrina for and all of her team and efforts for rewilding. So it's very much appreciated. But that is it for today's presentation. Thank you.